It is very nice to be in your home, Santa Tim. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, thank you. It's good to have you here, and we've got some. And listen to my puppies out back. I don't.
Yes.
They're going to probably be barking the whole time, but hopefully it's not too bad for you.
Two beautiful dogs that you have.
Yes, thank you.
So let's go ahead and get started. So you started out in your career spreading Christmas joy 53 years ago.
Yes, it was back. My first experience, 1969, a beard of Barbasol shaving cream while I was in Viet Nam. I played Santa for my fellow soldiers and stuff.
Oh,
But a year later, I came home and ended up working at a department store. And I was doing a lot of work around the store. And Christmas arrived and Thanksgiving week. And they needed someone to fill in for Santa. The Santa that had arrived got sick. So they said, "Can you fill in for 3 days?" I was only 21 and put on the suit and the beard and the wig, and my mom helped me out with a little padding. I needed padding in those days, and I ended up being their Santa, and they liked me so much I did it for 3 years. I
wow.
stayed full time as Santa for 3 years while I was going to college.
Now take me back to the beginning of your career, being named the National Santa for the official Hollywood Christmas Parade and the United States Marine Corps Reserve Toys for Tots.
Yes. Well, it was kind of unique because when I did graduate from college, I went on into a career. I wanted to be in broadcasting,
Right.
and I'd studied broadcasting and journalism, communications major, and ended up doing some work in newspapers for a while, and then went into radio for a while. And it was through one of the radio stations I worked for that I ended up doing some volunteer work with the March of Dimes. They liked the way I coordinated things, and they offered me a full-time job to coordinate their walkathons. Thus started 25 years as a professional fundraiser. March of Dimes, American Cancer Society, the City of Hope Medical Center, volunteer work with the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts and other groups, also muscular dystrophy, doing a lot of fundraising
A lot
work,
of charitable work that you've
charitable
done.
work.
That's
And
great.
it wasn't until I retired that I grew the beard and changed careers.
Now, how stressful of a job is it being Santa Claus, being the happy, jolly man? I'm sure when you go out in public, you have to be happy and jolly. And I'm sure the kids come up to you when you go grocery shopping saying, Santa, hi, Santa.
It can be very stressful. Actually, I have written a book called Santa's Handy Hints to Surviving the Holidays.
Mm,
And even people such as yourself and
yeah.
everybody watching, they're probably, the holidays come along and we all stress out a bit
Hmm.
because we've got our regular 9 to 5,
Right.
and then we throw all the other little things on top, the family functions and gift buying and cooking, and preparing dishes
Hmm.
and just obligations that weren't there before. And you've thrown that all on top of the regular schedule. So we stress out a bit. So I wrote a book on that, and it tells people about starting a little early, plan ahead, be a little more organized. And I actually had written it for the Santas to start with, because if I don't have my home decorated before the holiday season, before I leave, in other words, definitely before Thanksgiving,
Hmm.
I'm in deep trouble because it'll never get done because I'm gone after that.
Yeah.
Because I have the Hollywood Parade, which I do right after Thanksgiving. I have all my work with the Marine Corps and Toys for Tots. And, I'm going to be going to Nashville. I do Grand Ole Opry. I have
And
events
Mariah
in New
Carey.
York. I'm going to be doing the Mariah Carey concerts again this year. It's a lot of work,
Hmm.
and I have to be organized. Have
You're,
to be organized. Learn how to pack well,
yeah.
and travel. Uh, for some reason, I can't get the elves to do all that extra work.
You're a very busy man for sure. Now, you have worked with a lot of notable companies, being one of America's busiest Santas across the U.S., appearing in numerous commercials, advertising, and promotions. How does it feel to know you being the official National Santa has taken off to become something bigger than you could imagine?
Well, I have to be truthful about that title, National Santa. I originally kind of called myself the Hollywood Santa
Yeah.
because I was working in Hollywood, and my fundraising days were in Hollywood. I produced telethons and
Hmm.
things like that. So I became the Hollywood Santa. When I started doing all my volunteer work with the Marine Corps, Toys for Tots, Now, I was riding in the parade, the Hollywood parade, and I volunteer to do that every year. This will be my 18th year
Wow.
being in the parade. But the Marine Corps is the official charity. And so I have a couple Marines ride with me in the parade, and it's a very special honor. They're special. They're being honored for their work with the Marine Corps, so they're given their opportunity to ride with me. But I teach Santa school, and we haven't touched on that yet, but
Yes.
I have presented diplomas to over 4,800 Santas and Mrs. Claus so far. This year, coming up 2023, somewhere during the year, I'll present the 5,000th diploma.
Wow.
And but because I have all those Santas, I started networking those Santas to the local Marine Corps campaigns for Toys for Tots.
Nice.
Because when we have promotions and events in the different communities, isn't it nice not only to have the Marines in their dress blues and other volunteers, but here's Santa also, because those Marines are helping Santa fulfill the mission of getting toys to those children less served. And one year, the CEO, General Pete Osmond of the Marine Corps Toys for Tots, in his annual report said, well, our national Santa, Tim Connaghan. And I heard that title and I said, gee, that sounds
a nice
nice.
title, a nice ring to you.
And I went to GoDaddy and found out that nationalsanta.com was available, so I spent the $10 and got it. But I also travel a lot, and that's what I do. I go from coast to coast. And this year I'll be going from here in South Carolina, I'll be going up to New York, and then from New York to Nashville and to Los Angeles and back to New York and maybe down to Florida. So I'm all over the place doing work. We were hoping to actually do an airlift for the children in Puerto Rico, and we will be doing that airlift with Toys for Tots this year. There's also other special missions to get toys to children on some of the Indian reservations and such. So a lot going on, and wherever the Marine Corps wants me, I'll go.
Now let's touch on Schools for Santa, because some might not be aware, but you created Schools for Santa. Why did you feel it was important to create a program that was designed to show, future Santas how they should act, how they should, carry themselves, how they should pick up a child if they're going to be sitting in the mall taking photos with the kids?
Yeah. Well, this all came from the Santa Association. I was going to the annual meetings that we would have, and at one of the meetings, a fellow Santa, Richard Christie, asked me to maybe write something for a book he was doing called Becoming Santa. So I wrote a couple chapters, but my chapters were about some of the work we get into, the details of the work, because so often people think that Santa is just some nice little grandpa that sits in a chair and talks to the kids. But we have responsibilities. We have four bosses. We have the children, we have the parents, we have the photographer, and we have the mall or the city hall or whoever set up the event that we're doing. And even if we're doing a home visit, we have the owner of the home that wants to have a little, a party or something like that. So we have responsibilities. Plus, there are certain things we have to do in talking with the kids. You can't promise anything, you can't deny anything. There are certain ways of picking up the children and holding the children.
And how the hands have
protocol.
to be visible.
Hands always have to be in the photo. We don't want anybody to think that, Santa's hands in the wrong place or anything. So a lot of things that we do. And so I started writing about this, and then I continued writing. And the following year I had the whole book, and it was called Behind the Red Suit, Becoming Santa. And I presented this to all the Santas, and someone said, wow, this is better than the Santa school that they'd been to somewhere else. And he said, you should teach this. I started. 2003, I started teaching my Santa school.
And two, just to let the viewers know, to become an official Claus, you must have at least 16 hours of training, which you will then receive a diploma. Is that right?
That's what I do at my school, 16 hours of training. And what I do, different than some of the other schools, which are held once a year in a particular city, like up in Michigan or up in Vancouver or someplace like that, I travel around. And instead of having 150, 200 people there, I maybe have 2 dozen or 3 dozen a smaller group, and I go to their city. So I may go to Atlanta or to Phoenix or to Houston or a location like that. Recently, I was in Boise, Idaho. I go to where the Santas live, and I teach in their area. So each year I'll do 8 to 12 schools, depending on what's going on. And I also do usually a school on a Princess cruise.
Really?
So the Santas actually go on a week cruise, but there's always a couple of days when you're at sea. And those days at sea, I teach class. So they get their class, and we do a little vacation all at the same time. So it makes it nice. But the 16 hours is a lot of information. I actually have an hour of additional information, which is a history, and I have that on YouTube, and I invite them to go watch that also. So they get 17 hours. And if they can't attend a live school, I'm very fortunate that I work with some people down in Florida, in Orlando, at Christmas Dreams, which is a foundation that's hoping to build an amusement park based on Christmas for children who are ill or disabled and you know, are challenged, and where they could come and visit Santa and go on some rides and things like that. And they recorded my entire school, and we have it all available for a home study. So all 16 hours are on thumb drive. And this past year, we did a program with a special student, Santa Graves, and Santa Graves is totally deaf. So the entire school, as I was teaching the class, I had 2 interpreters who did American Sign while I was teaching. Well, through the producers and through his friends, they've closed captioned the entire school. So now have the entire 16 hours is now closed captioned. So next year we will make that available to everybody that wants to, you know, have that information for home study. So a lot of changes going on in the industry. Santa has been around for centuries, but every year there's new changes.
Now let's talk more about the Marine Toys for Tots Foundation. You've gone on special airlifts that deliver tens of thousands of toys for kids who were affected in disaster-hit areas, including Hurricane Sandy and Matthews, distribution events, attending the annual coordinators conference, and volunteering with any type of publicity or public relations activity. So, Senator Tim, what has continued to make this the top of your list each year?
Well, I have to say that every Santa that I know does some sort of charitable work somewhere. In fact, many of us started doing charitable work, being asked to volunteer to do something for a church or a school or friends. And we constantly get requests, you know, to help out with different things. Annually, I do visits to children's hospitals and things like that. You know, these are very, very special. Veterans visits to, you know, to military units and things like that, where they're also economically challenged. Now, Toys for Tots, I got involved with them from the parade, and what I love about their work is that we are serving this year probably in excess of 8 million children. These are children less served, children who are not expecting anything, or much of anything, or something very small. So when the Marines can come forward, and all the volunteers that work with the Marine Toys for Tots, and get these toys to the families and help the children have something. And I always like to tell people, say you're going to donate something, you're going to drop it in one of our barrels. I invite you to close your eyes for just a moment and think of that child who's not expecting anything. Come Christmas morning, they come into their living room or wherever they might have Christmas morning in their home, and there are a couple presents for them, say from Santa, something they weren't expecting. But those presents are there because of you, because you made it possible. And the volunteers, the people who donate all the presents, the unique thing about Toys for Tots, they operate the entire organization on 3%. It's one of the best run charities in America. 3% operating costs. 97% of what people give and donate goes back into the program to buy toys, to get the toys to their homes, to get them delivered. And that's what I love about it. you know.
Absolutely.
And the Marines, like I said, they call me Hurricane Sandy, Hurricane Matthew. When they wanted new photos for their website, you know, I said, hey, I'm there wherever you want me. This year, we have all kinds of events going on. The bell ringing or the tree lighting at the New York Stock Exchange. The Grand Ole Opry has come on board to support us this year. It's our 75th anniversary.
Has there ever been a meaningful, impactful moment that you've encountered with a kid working with Toys for Tots?
You know, it's unique. You meet children and you talk to them, and they don't know that you're working with Toys for Tots. They see all the toys, and they're asking for toys not for themselves. They're asking for a little brother or a little sister. And I think this is what's really moving. You want to make sure that child gets something too. But when they're sitting there and they're not thinking of themselves, they're thinking of somebody else, even though they've lost everything they own. This is what really moves you. And it makes you want to do it again and again and again. By knowing the lowest parts of the ladder, and you can, you know, I get to do Mariah Carey and I get to do the fancy stuff, but I couldn't really feel great about those things if it weren't for the fact that I also do all this other stuff down here, because the children are the most important thing.
And one thing that's really exciting is you will be with Mariah Carey for her Christmas special in Madison Square Garden. It's a 2-night event that's happening, but you're getting to be part of that. And how is that like? How did you get the call to be part of Mariah Carey's Christmas special? Because she's the Christmas queen.
Well, very lucky again. So much of what I do, you know, I work on who I am and what I do, but sometimes it's just luck. Someone calls you and says, "Hey, are you available? And can you do this?" The first time it happened with Dr. Phil, you know, I'd done the Hollywood Parade. Robin McGraw had saw me and said, "I'd like him to come to our Christmas party." Well, the Christmas party was for children whose parents were in the military, and it became part of a TV special. So I got to do that. In the case of Mariah Carey, they wanted Santa to be at Madison Square Garden. This was in 2019, so I did the concert that year. And this year, when I heard that they were coming back, I sent an email to the contact, and she said, "Oh, we'd love to have you back," you know. And so I'm going to do it again. I'm a bit of a window dressing, really, to the entire concert, because, you know, when she does little things, she's talking about Santa. It's nice to have Santa on stage for parts of it and everything, and it's very enjoyable. She does some wonderful concerts, and she uses a lot of local people. So, example, part of the concert she'll have a gospel choir, and it's from one of the churches right there in New York City. And they come in and they rehearse with her, and she has them be part of a couple of the numbers that she does. So it's really enjoyable. And then we all, of course, sit backstage
And
talking
just
about
watch
it and how
enjoy
much fun it is and all that. And it's a celebration.
Absolutely.
And she makes it a celebration for everybody.
So what does a retired Santa look like to you, as far as when you know, become a certain age and you say, I want to step back a little bit?
You know, it just, you don't know when that time's going to happen. We've got Santas that are into their 80s and they're still going, you know.
Wow.
Yes, and we have others that in their 50s, and, you know, because of certain health, you know, restrictions and things like that, have to
You
slow
have to
down.
kind of pull back a little bit.
Yeah. We have some Viet Nam vets that have, you know, they're still able to do all of their work, even though they have a prosthetic leg. You don't know these things. The kids don't know. They still see the magic.
Now, before we sign off, is there a message you would like to send to families this holiday season before we have to go?
As we end this little interview, I just want to let all the children at home know that Santa loves you, okay? And he's going to try to do what he can to make your Christmas special. And to the parents out there, we want you to know that you're doing a great job, and we hope that you and your family are going to have a great time this year. And if you can, along the way, do something for others, whether it's to buy a toy for Toys for Tots, or bake some cookies for a neighbor, or drop a little something special in the collection plate. whatever you can do to help others. This is what makes the joy of our season so special.
Absolutely. Well, Santa Tim, it's been such a pleasure to get to come inside your home, and thank you for such a great conversation, and I wish you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy Holiday.
Well, thank you very much. Merry Christmas to everybody, okay? Ho, 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 ho!